Welcome everyone to Real Estate with Gwen Price. And I'm very happy to have with me today Jesse Prud'Homme. And Jesse's with Frontline Roofing Company. Hi, Jesse.
How's it going?
Good, good. Well, we met not long ago and I was very impressed with how you dealt with one of my senior clients because, you know, as everybody knows, there's lots of different roofing companies out there and lots of competition. But to me, my priority is making sure that I'm dealing with a reputable company, either for myself or my clients. So how long have you been in business, Jesse?
Frontline was incorporated in 2018. My wife and I actually started that together.
Okay.
Prior to that, I was working with a good partner, Mark Bolton, Strategic Roofing. And we had some fun over there and we decided to go in two different directions. That started back in 2008, 2009.
Okay.
And we had quite a interesting time because that's when things started to change in the roofing industry. We started seeing a lot of issues with things like ice damming and almost as if it was a new era, especially with the workforce. A lot of the older guys were getting out of it, and so him and I had to start solving that problem with the workforce. And when we decided to part ways, my wife and I started Frontline Roofing Company, and we partnered up with one of the guys that I worked with for quite a while. I'm sure some of our customers have got to meet him. His name's Isiah, and he's very hands-on, very practical guy. He really likes to take things from A to Z.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of an interesting combination of sort of practical hands-on experience and business.
Yeah.
And so that's basically how it started out.
Okay.
Just to get right down to it.
Yeah, well, small business and it evolves over time, right? And you grow and so I know one of the important things, and I was saying I looked on your website to see if you mentioned it, and talking about you know, insurance coverage and WSIB, so workplace safety, because when, you know, your uncle can get on the roof and do your roofing for you, but what happens if uncle falls off the roof? How does the homeowner, what coverage, you know, how are they protected from liability? So I see that you do have those things, and because it's important, right? I mean, you're often, like, even the house I live in, it's a big 2-story. That's a long way up there, so you want to be safe, of course. And I think one of the things that I kept hearing about, what do they call it? Heights or certificate or something like that. So you've had training for that. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. To be completely transparent, most of the training happens practically hands-on.
Yeah.
The courses that IHSA offers is more of a CYA kind of situation. They give you some practical information, but the majority of it is not super helpful. If you're first time on a roof, you need some guidance. You need someone to show you what's going to work and what's not.
Yeah.
So we teach our workers to work safely, but how to work comfortably, which is a more practical approach. Because if you can be checking off all the boxes, you can be tied off, you can be, you know, the ministry can see what you're doing and okay, yeah, it looks right. But if you're not comfortable, and you're not sure-footed, that's when mistakes happen. That's when people get hurt. So we try to take things from a more practical standpoint so that everybody feels comfortable while they're working. That's when you do your best work, right? Is when you're comfortable. So you can't really take it for granted. I mean, and everybody wants to go home at the end of the day, right, and to their families. And I know, because I'm a little nervous about heights too, and you know, you look up and you see you guys up on top of the roof, and but I mean, nowadays you see people with harnesses and all of that sort of thing.
I can
Yeah.
tell you a story about my husband and son-in-law tied off with a roof and with a rope rather. And I mean, okay, that's the last time that's happening, just to fix, I think, some eavestrough. I mean, it
Yeah.
goes a long way down, right? And it's crazy,
Yeah.
the risks that people take to try to save some money doing it on their own. And I never begrudge anybody trying to do things on their own, but there's a time to hire a professional. And so what other services does Frontline offer? It's just not just roofing. You have other things that you do?
Pretty much saving the world one roof at a time is, I'm just kidding. We do it for the children, really.
Yeah.
We, to simplify it, anything on the exterior of the home, we can do,
Okay.
with the exception of below grade, like foundation things and so on.
Okay.
Our focus has been, what's turnkey for us would be roofing, soffit, fascia, eaves, trough. That's our core business. That's what we do really well.
Okay.
Roofing could be anything from steel roofing, which is one of our specialties.
Okay.
Shingle roofing. It could be low slope heat welded membranes, the flameless heat welded membranes for, some homes are very low pitch. So they have problems with, you couldn't use shingles in that kind of situation because,
Right.
with that kind of a pitch, you'd end up with water getting underneath the laps of the shingles.
Mm-hmm.
But eavestrough as well. We have our own eavestrough extruder. So it's been something that we can do sort of as a value added. Instead of someone having to go looking for someone somewhere else, we can do it all in-house. So
Okay. Great.
we try to make things as streamlined as we can make it for the customer.
Yeah. So, and skylights too. Like, I mean, as a realtor, when I see skylights, I look up right away in the interior to see, because years ago, a lot of them had lots of issues, right? Especially with our climate up here with the snow load on roofs. So things have evolved with, because basically it's a hole through the roof and you got to make sure that there's no seepage coming in there. But things have evolved with skylights.
They have. The Velux is probably the leader in the industry for manufacturer, as far as manufacturers go. The issue with skylights in the north is that no matter how good you make the skylight, it's still a window on a roof. So you're always going to have heat loss there. And as a result, if there is snow accumulating on the window, it will melt. Mm-hmm. And if that's happening in sub-zero temperatures, it's going to melt there and freeze directly below, which creates, over the course of the winter, huge ice dams. And so it's important that if they are getting covered in snow, that the glass is at least being cleared so that the heat loss can just go up into the air as opposed to melting snow for the whole winter and creating all that ice. Some people will go to the sun tunnels instead for that reason.
Oh, that's the and it's amazing when you do see either one of those tunnels or the skylights. It feels like I always have to check the house because I think there's a light left on, right? It's amazing the amount of light it brings into a house. But yeah, we just mentioned about the ice dams, and you did help my senior lady with that, and I appreciated how you handle it. It wasn't a big job for sure for you, but ice dams are a serious issue on a house because, again, when they melt, they're coming down somewhere. Water likes to find its way into all those nooks and crannies, right? Yeah.
Huge issue. Especially, you've been around longer than me, so you would be able to tell me if it's been raining in the winter in years prior. I don't remember that too much, but lately it just seems like we've got the weirdest winters. And
well, and yeah, it would be more of a, because I can, over the years think about, places in the city that might have had some flooding issues in the middle of winter because it rained. Doesn't happen very often, but you're right. There seems to be more, and I guess that's climate change. I'm not sure, but the ice dams do seem to be often an issue with a lot of houses, but that's also partly because of their attic airflow and things like that, right? people don't go up in their attics, and until they're selling their house or they're buying another house, they really don't even know what's going on up there most of the time.
True.
And
That's been sorry.
No, I was just going to say, even knowing that bathroom vent is venting right into the attic, maybe it got disconnected, but it's not going outside, or maybe that was the do-it-yourself guy, was a quick fix was to vent it into the attic, which creates a lot of problems.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen a lot of it. I would have to say, if I can pick on any one kind of home in the Sudbury area, it would be the story and a half. The typical, you've got the knee walls and the slope ceilings and the flat ceilings up in the second story.
Yeah.
Those story and a half homes with the side attics, they're notorious for not having enough ventilation.
Yeah.
And as a result, melting snow in the slope ceilings, and then it just travels down, freezes up, and
and oftentimes the what do you call it, the overhang or whatever is not very wide either. A lot of them I've seen, or maybe, I don't know, they look like 6 inches or something instead of, like, I don't know, what are they typically nowadays, like 2 feet over?
18 inches, 24. You see, even, you can I've seen some really big overhangs, like 36 inches, but 18 inches, 24 inches seems pretty normal.
I was thinking, which do you also soffit and fascia work then too?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Because you're right then, because it's all those components that go to the roof and the outside and all of those things. So that's good to know. Yeah, for sure. Because eaves trough are an issue for sure. They often get disconnected, or they get loaded up with leaves and debris, that kind of thing, and create lots of problems. So
Actually, I have a question for you on that.
Yeah.
We often get asked, people that are considering selling the home or considering upgrading it prior to selling their home, if addressing these ice damming issues is worth it, because in a lot of cases the buyer doesn't really understand.
Yeah. Well, and I guess it depends.
The problem, nor do they have the tendency to have that. Yeah,
well, and I guess it depends on the cost involved, right? Because and right now with the prices rising so quickly, because depending, is it the insulation, is it the roof, and all of those things, what's the cost? And most things you can recover that cost if it makes, but if you're talking, when you start to talk about $20,000 or something to do a whole roof and all of that, it depends, and it really depends on the seller too. But issues, if something happens, you have to disclose that. If you know that that's something going on a regular basis because you're lacking something, that should be disclosed to the new buyer, and it's not always. And right now we're running into unconditional offers where home inspections aren't even being done, or they're doing very quick home inspections. So it's a crazy market for the buyers right now. And but it's all, because some people, seniors in particular, they might be on a fixed income and maybe they can't afford to do the repairs that are going to correct those issues. But as long as it's disclosed when they go to sell the house, you can still sell a house as is, right? And as long as the buyer knows what they're getting into, but it's not always that way. For sure. Yeah, so, no, that's great, Jesse. I didn't realize you did all of those different types of services. So it is kind of a one-stop shop. That's good to know, because oftentimes when you get up there and you start seeing things too, and you can let the homeowner know, their chimney's deteriorating, or your eaves trough's hanging off, or it's full, or it's whatever, all those things. You're up there and the homeowner isn't.
That's right. Yeah, it's more of a, I don't know if you can use this word in roofing, but I'm going to. Holistic approach.
Oh, go on. Oh, you're gonna get paid.
Yeah.
But I
just made that up.
No, because it is sort of when you're up there, why not? What a service. And same with, we have a mutual friend, John Mason, that does chimneys, and when he's up there and he sees something, he lets the homeowner know too, because you're not up there on a regular basis, and some people should definitely never go up on their roof, right?
Yeah.
But it's nice to know that there's another set of eyes, and that you're going to tell them the truth. And plus you take a bunch of photos, which was much appreciated, in my seniors case there. And because they're trusting what you're saying, right? And it helps to have those photos. You're not just making things up, say you need a new roof, but okay, that's right. You need a new roof, this is why. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, we want our customer to be informed and have an understanding of why something is necessary. And with that, we build trust, and there is an understanding where they lean on us to help them solve the issue. But we want them to understand why the situation, if it's ice damming or whatever is going on, we want them to understand why.
Yeah.
And so having these photos and having you've seen the live photo stream that we share, so that really helps, because most people don't even ever go up. Most people don't even look at the roof, depending on.
Yeah, exactly. Until actually a few years back, I turned the corner towards my house, and my shingles were literally waving at me. So I knew there was a problem.
If they're waving at you, they're saying it's time.
Ending up on my neighbor's yard, I knew we needed to do them, but it's like I say, your industry is one of the industries that a lot of people are nervous about. I mean, I'm in real estate, right? So they're nervous about realtors, and the same thing. It's about trust and reputable companies to deal with, because it's the Wild West in a lot of cases. Somebody decides to be a roofer today, and what is the homeowner? What is the consumer? What are they getting in return for what they're paying? Because it's not a trivial thing, that's for sure. It's a very important component of the home. And because one of the first questions insurance companies ask is, how old are the shingles, right? And oftentimes, I'm sure you've seen it, how many layers what's the worst you've ever seen in terms of the number of layers of shingles on a house?
Oh man, I'll just say, anyone on Elm Street, I feel sorry for you. But yeah, it's those older homes. A lot of times you see cedar shake underneath.
Oh wow!
As a nice base layer. That's fun to take off.
Yeah.
Then you've got, sometimes they'll have rolled roofing, or another layer of shingles, or another layer on top of that. We've seen 4 layers. That was the house on Elm Street, and it was like,
wow, that's a lot of weight, isn't it, on a roof? That amount of
big time.
Because I mean, what's the maximum? 2 or
well, at this point, I think it's safe to say that any reputable roofing company will remove what's there and install onto the roof deck.
Oh, okay.
In the past, it was more common in the past to just go over top of one layer, but you don't see that anymore. Really,
they take it right down to the wood, and then you also get to see what's happening with the wood, right? And whether or not some parts of it need to be redone. So that's good to know too. Yeah. It's like I say, it's an important component. It can be a very expensive depending on the type of roof line. It's not just your people always say, well, how much is that going to cost? Well, I can't tell them, certainly. I know it can be a few $1,000s, and it just depends, all the different pitches and the types of, there's some pretty complicated roofs out there. A lot of the new construction, it depends. They got lots of peaks and valleys, and there's things that it changes how you do your job when you're up on a roof like that too. Yeah,
and we've seen huge price increases too. I'm sure you're well aware, but the construction industry, I would say probably 50% in cost of shingles, which is huge in the last 18 months. Aluminum, metals, all that stuff. So a lot of people don't even really realize. They'll get a quote, and 20 years ago the roof might have been $4,000. And now it's $9,000 or something. They don't realize how much things have changed, how much the cost of goods has gone up, and even the cost of labor.
Well, and you're probably like a lot of industries right now. it's hard to get skilled workers
Yeah.
in almost every industry that I hear about. Excuse me. And so that's part of that equation of what something ends up costing, like how long is it going to take to do the roof? Because you've only got, you haven't got enough workers. And so, I mean, it's right across. And I mean, definitely COVID, the shortages, some material, everybody, was shut down for a while too, a lot of the manufacturing, and they're still getting catch up. When we were building our shed, it was like we were kind of like fighting off the contractors to get a stick of wood to finish. It was the lack of materials was crazy. So yeah, no, that's great, Jesse. I'm really happy to chat with you and get to know you more. And certainly I'll make this available to the world and my clients. And just so, when they're thinking about getting a quote for a roof, they know the person behind that quote. And
yeah, likewise, great. It's always nice to meet other people in the industry and be able to know who we can pass people on to, so they can,
exactly.
It's all about trust, really.
It is. And Sudbury, I always say, I mean, I was born and raised here, and I always feel it's like 1 degree of separation. You start talking to somebody, they know somebody or they're related. And in some of the outlying areas, it's like a 0.5 degree, because, a lot of my family is out in Lively, and everybody, they're all kind of interconnected out there. And so that's what's so important in Sudbury too, is who you could trust and the quality of the work that you're going to get from that person. So
exactly.
Great. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Oh yeah, I want to just make sure. How do they get a hold of you, Jesse? What's the best way for your website or?
Homing pigeon? No. On our website, we have if you have do your smoke signals and put a bat symbol up in the air. On our website, there's quite a few options. If you're just looking to request a quote, it's really simple. We've got a form on the website, and it just takes you through all the steps, information that's going to help us get you a quote that is helps us plan, because a lot of times these quote requests will come in all at once. Like, you've got a thaw right now, so there's gonna be a lot of people looking. So that form makes it really easy, and any information that we need, it'll prompt you to put it all in. But if you're not into doing that, you can always just call us at the office.
What's the best number?
At 705-592-2129.
Okay, great.
There's
I know my husband wouldn't be looking for you online. He would be calling.
And I'm all for chatting over the phone as well, especially if there's something more specific that somebody wants to ask. Just give me a call.
Great. No, thank you so much. And I'll put your information and links to your website and all that on mine. And that's great. Thanks so much.
I appreciate it. It was nice to meet you.
Take care.
You too.